Good morning. Eric, am I going to be in the woods or not? No woods? 5 seconds on woods? All right, we'll wait on the woods. Good morning. Thank you for getting out of bed and coming to see us all. I love that you guys are all here. Every day I think about what a blessing it is that you guys get out of bed and come here and listen to me on purpose. I love that. That's amazing. So I really appreciate it. I feel immense gratitude and blessed by that. This week, we're going to have the pleasure of preaching, or you're going to, I guess I'll have the pleasure of preaching. You'll have the pleasure, I hope, of listening to one of my favorite passages in the Bible. It's the story that Jesus told explaining how God provides for all living creatures life on this planet. How the earth provides everything that we need, everything that everybody else needs to live. All we have to do is look at the natural world to see how everything matters, how everything is important. And that is really one of our main teachings with our summer ministry program, Living Coast Ministries, is we show the interconnection between all living things and how each little particle up to the biggest whale that you can imagine, all of these things matter. We think about, again, the phytoplankton. I've talked about phytoplankton before. Does anybody know what phytoplankton is? Tell me what phytoplankton is. I'm looking at you.
Microscopic critters in the water, animal and plant, that feed larger organisms.
Wow, that was like you read it out of Wikipedia. That was awesome. That's exactly right. It's this it's this idea that these little creatures that are microscopic, you can't really even see them with the naked eye, produces half the oxygen on this planet. And they're living in that bay right over there that people are driving by way too fast at 50 miles an hour. They don't give a second thought to those creatures that provide life for everything on this planet. 1 out of every 2 breaths is coming from those little creatures nobody gives much thought to. But if those creatures didn't exist, if phytoplankton did not exist, this world would look radically different, and frankly, we wouldn't be here. And the earth again provides for phytoplankton, and by providing for phytoplankton, they provide for us. And now we're going to hear from the scripture this morning from Jesus about how God and the earth are here to provide everything we need and to not worry about the day-to-day. So we're going to be in Matthew chapter 6, 26 to 30. Do not worry. Am I standing too close to something? Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? And can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your span of life? And why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? I love this passage because it's simple and it's beautiful. The birds of the air are fed by this earth. They don't sow, they don't reap, they don't gather. All the birds' needs are provided. The lilies of the field are clothed. And the overwhelming message I receive from this is stop worrying. This is actually from verse 27. And can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your span of life? Does anybody worry out here? Have we got worriers in the crowd? No, everybody's totally carefree, right? And I guess the question is, and this for me as well, is like, does this worrying create anything of value? Right? Is worrying serving some type of purpose? And it gets to this idea of scarcity, right? Sadie loves talking about scarcity. I freaking hate the word scarcity. It's like, ugh, makes me feel gross. And the idea of scarcity versus abundance. And the fear that there will not be enough, right? Does anybody live with the fear that, I'm not going to have enough? Even amongst the abundance, you look at the world and you like break it down by zip code, we have got to be in the top 0.000 whatever percent of immense wealth. And still, we got tons of worriers all over the place amongst overwhelming abundance. So what does all this worrying create? Creates stress, creates anxiety, and if we get too deep into it, it creates conflict. How many have heard the term, I got to get them before they get me? That's how every war ever starts. They're going to get us, so we got to get them first. It's worry. And of course, there are times of scarcity in anyone's life, and I'm not just talking about financial either. There can be spiritual scarcity, emotional scarcity, scarcity of human connection. Oh man, that was a big one. We've heard about the loneliness epidemic in this country, right? So many people just desperate for a human connection. Fear of being alone. And I think about the seasons in the world and how our lives ebb and flow just like the seasons. Sometimes we're in a time of abundance. And it seems like doors are opening magically for us, right? And then the next day, maybe those doors are slammed in our face. And that's the human experience. There will be challenges, there will be suffering, there will be loss. And that is the experience of all living things, not just humanity. And what's the consistent across all life is that God provides through it all. And that's going to bring us to our reflection question this week, Eric, if we could throw it on there. We're going to put you on the spot. When have you felt scarcity, and how did you overcome this worry? Because in this world of abundance, so many of us feel that scarcity, that fear, that worry. So let's take a moment to reflect. Let's put our feet firmly on the ground. Let's straighten our back. Let's breathe in through our nose and exhale out our mouth. Find some quiet and ponder this question. When have you felt scarcity, and how did you overcome this worry? Take about 45 seconds of silence, and then I'll see if anybody wants to share. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because it's very situational. I feel very protected in my Orange County bubble, being a white, a middle-aged, balding guy. But the truth is, if I was Hispanic and I was working in the fields, I would feel very differently, frankly, So it's important to be contextual about what we're talking about. But I also think, kind of stepping back, 30,000-foot view, we have what we need. We just got to do a better job of distributing it. And the reason that there's fear is because there's designed to be fear. It's not happenstance, it's by design. So all these things that we're talking about for scarcity are man-made creations. This is not the natural world. This is us doing it to ourselves. That's the key. That's the key. If we pull the politics away and just look at what we have, there's enough. And we don't need a guy with 6 Rolexes in his drawer and somebody's going hungry on the street. That's stupid. You don't see birds with 60 pounds of whatever birds eat, seeds, bird food, and then nobody else gets any. That doesn't work how, that's not how it works in the world. That's how it works in the human world. And we can do it different. All right, I'm inspired by you guys. This is good. Any other thoughts before I continue? Beautiful. All right, that was fun today. Good shares. Now, I'll just read what I wrote because I think it kind of hits. It says, I believe these feelings of scarcity and worry are often in our heads, not based on facts. And then I think about Starr and I think about Ray. And there are human facts that contradict the natural world facts that we're supposed to be living in. And I think so much of it is often about perspective. Like the guy who's sitting on the on the sidewalk to get his new iPhone, he's not feeling scarcity. He's the opposite, like the scarcity is the draw. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I talked about my trip to the Dominican Republic, a mission trip, maybe 8 years ago. And there was this Haitian couple living up in the mountains. And we were all these Americans of means going to visit these poor Haitian couple in the middle of nowhere up in the mountains of the Dominican Republic. And they have nothing. They live in a one-room shack. They have like bed sheets to divide up the rooms. No mattress. I think there was one frying pan. Wild pigs foraging in the yard. And they were so incredibly poor and disadvantaged, but they could not be more happy and gracious and welcoming to see us. This older couple was in their 70s or 80s. They had a playful disposition. They were smiling. I didn't speak a word of Spanish. They didn't speak a word of English. And it was beautiful. And there was still communication, if that makes sense. And what's amazing is that I felt that they believed that God had them. Let me ask you, how many do you feel that God has you? No matter what happens, God's got me. That's pretty good. Now, if we were to take like a poll on the street, what do we think we would get out there? Right? This idea that God provides, and not always directly, but often through community, often through relationships. Ever since I met that couple in the Dominican Republic, I have wanted to see the world that way. In wonder and awe, in gratitude, like Nan talked about. Not taking things for granted. And then you think about this couple's perspective, and how could they not be in awe and wonder at what God has provided? Because we're a bunch of Americans flying across the ocean to physically go visit these people, to share time with them, to be in communion with them, without bread, without a table, just with our presence. And we also brought a mattress, so they didn't have to sleep on the floor anymore at 70 and 80 years old. And they were thrilled for a mattress. And what's beautiful about the experience is that God provided for us as much as we provided for them. I will be on my deathbed and I will never forget that couple. Like, I will not forget that couple. How they lived, how they were in gratitude, how they saw the world through this lens of awe and wonder, and that God provides. And apparently I needed another reminder of this because then I had a car accident. You guys probably remember this. I sure do. And then all of a sudden, I had flashes of I could be paralyzed, I could be crippled, I could be dead. And then I remember, like, the next day, or maybe it was a few days later, I'm like watering the garden. And how thrilling it was to water the garden. Because I could physically do it. And it's a struggle, but to hold on to that gratitude for the day-to-day things that we take for granted. Suddenly the mundane was exciting. Gratitude for the basics like being able to walk. I think about my friend who's paralyzed. Can't use his arms, can't use his legs, can't feed himself, can't write. Whew. Can't hug anybody. Ooh, man. The list goes on and on, all the gifts that we just take for granted. And I think if we can lean into the gratitude of the abundance that we have, even though the system is totally screwed up. And honestly, that's what we're doing here at church. I bring my abundance to church when I have abundance. And when I have scarcity, I bring that too. After the car accident, I needed to be wrapped up in this community. I needed to be hugged and felt love. And I showed up and I took what I needed, and you guys provided it. And that's how the church works. Show up as you are, in your abundance, in your scarcity, because it's both of it. All of the above. And plug into the community. I don't think I want to say all this. Let me see here. I will say this. I think practicing wonder is a powerful tool. I think we take it so for granted, like even like a Zoom call. Like, I have a buddy in Austria, and I can have a face-to-face conversation with that guy. And he's thousands of miles away. Like, most people take that for granted. They don't even think about it. But as soon as you, contextualize, I feel gratitude. But you have to slow down, you have to breathe, you have to reflect, and you have to make it a practice. Like Nan said, lean into it. Because the mundane day-to-day can just be stuff we take for granted, background noise. But as soon as we slow down and realize the gifts that we are given by this God of ours, by this earth of ours, we're truly blessed. And I'll leave us with this. I'll invite the praise team forward, but I think what it means to be the body of Christ for me is this idea of, I like to talk about the trees. You've heard me talk about the trees, right? Maybe there's a forest. There's a section of the forest that gets the nutrients, gets the sunlight, grows strong, and there's a section that's maybe shaded. Maybe the soil isn't as rich. And what does the forest do? Redistributes wealth. It pulls nutrients from the abundance, redistributes it to those with less, so that the whole forest flourishes. That is what it is to be the church. That is what is to be the hands and feet of the body of Christ. Let's continue to do the walk. Amen.